Yo, you're watching the Scripted Fish here, people, and once again, I'm here for yet another movie review, and this time we are looking at Doctor Strange, as you can tell by the title. So, Doctor Strange's life changes after a car accident robs him of the use of his hands. When traditional medicine fails him, he looks for healing and hope in the mysterious Enclave. He quickly learns that the Enclave is at the front line of a battle against unseen dark forces bent on destroying reality as we know it. Before long, Strange is forced to choose between his life of fortune and status, or leave it all behind to defend the world as the most powerful sorcerer in existence. So, going into this movie, I was not expecting this to be Marvel's absolute best movie. Because Captain America Civil War, the movie that tricked us into thinking this was going to be a great summer for movies, and also one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, if I do say so myself, as well as one of the best movies of this year. And yeah, it was a really good movie. However, leaving the theatre after watching Doctor Strange, I realised that my expectations have been exceeded dramatically, because Doctor Strange is one of the best comic book movies I have ever seen, as well as one of the best movies I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding, I actually believe that. So, there is a lot to praise about this movie. For instance, the cast is truly spectacular. Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange is fantastic in this movie. His performance was very charismatic, and his American accent did not falter at all throughout the entire film. He was brilliant in this movie. Doctor Strange himself is also an awesome character, in my opinion. I really enjoyed seeing his origin story unfold and experience him become the Sorcerer Supreme we all know and love from the comics. I've actually heard people say that the first 10 to 20 minutes of this film felt like Iron Man all over again. I did not feel that way, because Strange, for the most part, is his own character, and an interesting one, and awesome one at that. And I found those first 10 to 20 minutes of the movie really fun and engaging. Tilda Swinton was brilliant in this movie. She had a lot of really awesome scenes, and she gave a genuinely great performance. And I do apologize if I pronounce this one. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I'm sorry, was also great in this movie as MODOK. I think that's how you pronounce the character's name. Apologies if I did not pronounce it right. He was one of the actors, I think, that really stood out to me in this movie in terms of performance and characterization. And I cannot wait to see what's in store for him in the future as well. Rachel McAdams was also really good in this movie. I found the romance between her and Strange really touching and really funny at times, which is another pro for this movie. This movie is really funny. The humour in this movie is on point, and it actually flowed and felt a part of the story instead of the humour being something that was just added to keep the story lighthearted. Benedict Wong was great in this movie. He had some really funny moments and scenes, and I really liked his character. So, it is well known by now that one of the reoccurring issues with the MCU as a whole are the villains. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like the villains like Loki, Ultron, and Winter Soldier, and Baron Zemo in Civil War, for example, but other times the villains of the MCU have felt bland and underdeveloped. However, Mads Mikkelsen as the main villain of this movie was fantastic. He was menacing, evil, obviously, intimidating, and his motivations were not in the slightest bit convoluted, and they made sense. He was a really cool villain, and some of the things that he did with his powers actually gave me chills. I would easily pick this guy if I was asked who my favourite MCU villain was. Yes, I know Loki was great, but some of the things he did in Avengers, for example, had me laughing instead of feeling intimidated. That's not to say he wasn't intimidating. He was, it's just some things he did just made me laugh. So the costume design for this movie is also great. Doctor Strange himself looks very comic book accurate, and I know it was seen in the trailers already, but I still felt a sense of surprise and joy that they introduced the Cloak of Levitation. Other characters like Mordo, finally said his name right, and Wong look great, even if their look isn't as comic book accurate as Strange himself. I was slightly worried that the plot of this movie would be a straightforward origin story with the most straightforward plot you could possibly think of. Thankfully, though, it was nowhere near that. In fact, the plot was pretty complex and in a good way, and I found pretty much all the plot elements incorporated into the story of this film to be interesting and unique in their own specific ways. There was some pretty cool concepts to do with time and the space-time continuum that were introduced in this movie that I found very interesting. And this movie also introduced certain plot elements into the MCU that I have been waiting to see for years. Of course, I can't spoil them here, obviously. And one thing that is worth praising here is probably going to get Oscar nominated are the visual effects. The visual effects in this movie are truly phenomenal. The visual effects team have more than outdone themselves with this one. The effects in this movie are truly remarkable. I could not look away throughout the entire film. That's how beautiful they look. This movie really does manage to sustain that sense of awe and amazement with every scene. It was truly amazing to see things from the comics like the Mirror Dimension and the Eye of Agamotto come to life on the big screen and be fully realized in the best possible way. Not to mention, the surrealism in this movie is just phenomenal. My mind was blown up at least 3 times in one scene whenever something surrealistic happened in this movie. The time and effort that must have gone into these effects is ridiculous, and the magic and spells in this movie look equally amazing. Which leads me to the action, and I have to say, the magic battles in this movie are the best magic battles I have ever seen, and yes, before you ask, I found them even more amazing than the magic battles in Harry Potter movies. Now, fanboys and fangirls, I'm not saying the magic battles in Harry Potter were bad. In fact, they were amazing, so please, put down your pitchforks. All I'm saying is that the magic battles in this film blew me away to a larger extent than the Harry Potter battles did, because they were beautifully shot, well choreographed, and really fun. I also liked that they mixed hand-to-hand combat with the magic battles. That was cool to see. And a lot of the time when watching the action sequences and seeing those effects come to life, I was just sat there wondering how the fish did they shoot that. And yes, I've mentioned a couple of times already that this film is shot beautifully, and again, there were multiple times when watching this where I was wondering how they actually shot that specific scene. It was weird coming out of this movie to find that there was literally nothing I disliked about this movie. Because, like I said earlier, I was not expecting this movie to be as good as it was, and I wasn't expecting it to be Marvel's absolute best movie. However, this movie exceeded my expectations dramatically, and I know I have only seen this once, but I can definitely say that this is Marvel's best origin story in years, and I cannot wait to see where Stephen Strange appears next. Whether it's Avengers Infinity War, or Thor Ragnarok, or a sequel even. Doctor Strange is an amazing comic book movie as well as an amazing movie on its own, and I really do recommend you go see this movie. I can assure you the experience will be phenomenal. So guys, thank you for watching this movie review. I do hope you enjoyed it, and I will indeed see you in the next video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and I will indeed see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.